Job was a good and prosperous man who was esteemed by God. Satan accused Job before God as one who was loyal to God in exchange for the blessings God had bestowed upon him. Satan threw a challenge to God. Allow me to strip away Job's comforts, family, and health, and, Satan said, Job will curse you, O God. As a result, Job was suddenly beset with horrendous disasters that destroyed all he had. Whereupon, Satan proceeded to destroy Job's health. Job struggled intensely to understand his calamities, but consistently remained devout. He did, however, express a desire to discuss his situation with God, a request that was granted in a manner quite different from that which Job had anticipated. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind, saying, Who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Dress for action like a mighty man. I will question you, and you may make it known to me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me, if you have any understanding. Who marked out its measure, if you know it? Who stretched the plumb line upon it? Upon what were the earth's pillars sunk? Who laid down its cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Who shut in the sea with doors when it broke forth from the womb whence it came? When I made the clouds its garment, and dark clouds its swaddling clothes, prescribing limits for the sea, setting for it bolts and doors, saying, Thus far shall you come, and no farther, and here shall your proud waves be stayed. Have you ever commanded the morning, or assigned its place to the dawn, so that you might take hold of the edges of the earth, and the wicked be shaken from it? For at dawn the earth takes shape like clay beneath a seal, and the wicked are exposed and are put to shame. Light is withheld from the wicked, and the power of the arrogant is broken. Have you trodden on the bed of the sea, or walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been revealed to you? Have you seen the gates of the netherworld? Have you comprehended the expanse of the earth? Declare, if you know it all, what is the way to the home of light and darkness? Where is its dwelling place? Can you take it to its border? Do you know the path to its home? You surely know it, for you were born there, and the number of your days is great. Have you seen the treasures of the snow? Have you seen the treasures of the hail, which I have reserved for the time of trouble, the day of battle and war? In what way are the air currents scattered, and is the east wind spread upon the earth? Who has cleft a channel for the torrents of rain, and a path for the thunderbolt to bring rain to a land uninhabited, to a desert where no man lives, to satisfy the desolate wasteland, and make the dry ground bring forth grass? Has the rain a father? And who has begotten the dewdrops? From whose womb did the ice come forth? And the frost of heaven, who has given it birth? When water is congealed like stone, and the face of the deep is frozen over, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades, or loose the cords of Orion? Can you bring forth Mazzaroth in its season, or guide the bear with its children? Do you know the ordinances of the heavens? Can you establish my order on the earth? Can you lift up your voice to the clouds, that a flood of waters may cover you? Can you command the lightnings to go forth? Will they say to you, Here we are? Who has placed wisdom in the ibis, or given understanding to the cock? Who can number the clouds in wisdom? Who can tilt the pitches of heaven when the dust hardens into a mass and the clods cleave fast together? Can you hunt prey for the lion and satisfy the young lion's appetite when they crouch in their dens or lie in wait in their thicket? Who provides for the raven its prey when its young ones cry to God and wander about without food? Do you know the time when the mountain goats give birth? Do you observe the calving of the does? Can you number the months they fulfill? And do you know the time they give birth? When they crouch, bring forth their offspring, and are delivered of their young ones grow strong. They grow up in the open, they go forth and do not return to them. Who has given the wild ass his freedom? Who has loosed the bonds of the swift ass? Whose home I have made the wilderness, and whose dwelling is the salt land. He scorns the noise of the city. He will hear no shouts from the driver. He ranges over the mountains as his pasture, and he searches after every green plant. Is the wild ox willing to serve you? Will he spend the night at your crib? Can you bind him to the furrow with ropes? Will he harrow the valleys after you? Can you trust him, since his strength is great, and leave your produce to him? Can you rely on him to return and gather in your seed and your harvest? The wing of the ostrich beats joyously, but is her pinion like that of the stork or the vulture? For she leaves her eggs on the earth and lets them be warmed on the ground, forgetting that a foot may crush them, or a wild beast trample them. Her young ones grow tough without her. That her labour may be in vain gives her no concern, because God forgot her when he allocated wisdom, and he gave her no share in understanding. But when she rouses herself to flee, she laughs at the horse and his rider. Do you give the horse his strength? Do you clothe his neck with a mighty mane? Do you make him leap forward like a locust, while the echo of his snorting is terrible? He pours the valley in his joy, and bravely goes forth to face the battle. He laughs at fear, and is not dismayed. He does not draw back from the sword. Upon him rattle the quiver, the flashing spear, and the javelin. In fierce rage he paws the ground, and cannot stand still at the sound of the trumpet. At the trumpet's blast he says, "Aha!" smelling the battle from afar, the noise of the captains and their shouting. Is it by your wisdom that the hawk goes soaring and spreads his wings towards the south? Is it your command that the eagle mounts up and makes his nest on high? On the rock he makes his home, on the steep crag his fortress. From there he spies out the prey, his eyes ranging afar. His young ones suck up blood, and where the slain are, there is he. And the Lord said to Job, Can he who argues with the Almighty instruct him? Can he who reproves God answer all this? Job answered the Lord, saying, Behold, I am of small account. How can I answer you? I lay my hand to my mouth. I have spoken once, and will not reply again. Twice, but I will proceed no further. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind, saying, Gird up your loins like a mighty man. I will ask you, and do you inform me? Will you put me in the wrong? Will you condemn me, so that you may be in the right? Have you an arm like God? Can you thunder with a voice like his? Deck yourself in majesty and dignity. Clothe yourself with glory and splendour. Scatter abroad your mighty wrath. And as you see each proud sinner, abase him. As you look on each arrogant one, bring him low, and tread down the wicked in their place. Bury them all in the dust. Press their faces into the grave. Then I too will render you homage, when your right hand will have brought you victory. Behold Behemoth, whom I fashioned along with you. He eats grass like an ox. See, his strength is in his loins, and his power in the muscles of his belly. He can stiffen his tail like a cedar, and the sinews of his thighs are knit together. His bones are tubes of bronze, his limbs like bars of iron. He is the first of the works of God. Let him who made him bring near his sword, for the mountains bring him their tribute, and all the beasts of the field gambol there. Under the lotus plants he lies, in the shadow of reeds, in the marsh. The lotus trees cover him with their shadow, and the willows of the brook surround him. Behold, he empties an entire river without haste. He lies at ease as he draws a Jordan into his mouth. Who can capture him with rings or pierce his nose with a snare? Can you seize Leviathan with a net, or press down his tongue with cord? Can you put a rope in his nose, or pierce his jaw with a hook? Will he make supplication to you, and speak to you in soft words? Will he make a covenant with you, so that you may take him as a servant forever? Can you play with him as with a bird, or tie him up as one of your sparrows? Will traders bargain over him? Will they divide him up among merchants? Can you fill his skin with harpoons, or his head with fishing spears? If you dare lay a hand upon him, not long will you remember the battle. Indeed, he who attacks him loses all hope, since at the mere sight of him he is laid low. No one is fierce enough to stir him up. Who can stand up to him in battle? Who has confronted him and emerged unscathed? Under all the heavens there is no one. Round about his teeth is terror. His sneezings flash forth light. His eyes are like the eyes of the dawn. Out of his mouth go flaming torches. Sparks of fire leap forth. Out of his nostrils comes smoke as from a boiling pot or a marsh. On his neck strength abides, and on his face terror dances. His breast is firm as a rock, firm as the lower millstone. When he raises himself up, the gods are frightened, and the mighty breakers make supplication to him. If one reaches for him with the sword, it will fail, be it the spear, the dart, or the javelin. He treats iron as straw and bronze as rotting wood. His underparts are sharp as potsherds. He spreads out like a threshing sledge on the mire. He brings the deep to a boil. He stirs up the sea like a seething mixture. He leaves behind him a shining wake. One would think the deep hoary-headed. Nowhere on earth is there his like, a creature born without fear. He looks down on all that is lofty, for he is king over all proud creatures. Then Job answered the Lord, I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. You have said, who is this that hides my plan without knowledge? Indeed, I have spoken without understanding of things too wonderful for me, which I did not grasp. You have said, hear, and I will speak. I will ask you, and do you inform me. I had heard of you by hearsay, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I abase myself, and repent in dust and ashes. The first response of Job to God's revelation of himself in creation showed bashful humility, but the second showed a transformation. Job had seen God, and his response? Job rejected Job. I think that the response of Job was akin to that of the Apostle Paul at his conversion, when he saw himself as the chief of sinners. Job then forgave his comrades, who were really his antagonists, and entered into a new and blessed relationship with the ruler of the universe. And so we saw that the story of Job began with Satan's malevolence, which was limited by God, and ended with God's grace, which Satan could not oppose.